So thank you very much to be with us. My first question would be on the next counter offensive. Do you think it will be successful, and what do you expect from it?
Well, as many people who support Ukraine, we want the counteroffensive to be successful, and obviously we want to be decisive. But we also have to be realists, and we have to understand that Russia had a lot of time to prepare and to rebuild. And the information that we have is that actually it was very active in doing that. So the counteroffensive might be different than our expectations. And we have to return to the main point that we have to be strategic about this. The goal is liberation of Ukrainian territories. That might take a little bit longer than just one counteroffensive. And for that we need to be prepared, also patient, politically prepared, committed, and industrially prepared, so that the equipment that we've sent out, we have to understand in our mind that it might not be the last one that Ukraine needs.
Mm-hmm. Who or what could prevent a total victory of Ukraine?
Well, I think that the main factor in that would be Western fatigue. If we get tired, if we get tired faster than they, if we don't find a way how to reignite our industries so that they start preparing for a different age and behaving like it's a different time, and we need that very fast. So that would be probably the biggest problem, because what Ukrainians have shown clearly that they have capacity, will, ability to fight, and determination to win this war. Nobody has expected that, really. I mean, even the closest friends were afraid as how the war would which turn it could take. Now it is clear. Ukrainians have answered all these questions.
Who could be the first country to be victim of this fatigue? Would it be the United States? I mean, in regard with the election coming and the possibility that Trump comes back to power?
It's difficult to tell. Obviously, the political processes are starting in the United States. We will have a European election next year. Many countries in Europe will face election even this year. So I think that there will be a recalibration, certainly, as to where countries stand. But I think that a very important factor in this is how do people feel. And I think that at least in Europe, what we've managed to win is the narrative, but that means that we have managed to explain to our voters what is actually happening, who is the victim, who is the aggressor, and what needs to be done. And that gives me hope that maybe by the election period we might, even with the election, even with the government change, we might continue with our systems. That gives me hope. But in any way, I mean, the good thing of this is that we are members of multilateral organizations where no single country, even though how important, can make single-handedly decisions. So I'm hoping that we can help each other, assist each other in these formats to push on through.
How do you see the end of the story in Russia? I mean, would you bet on a coup against Putin or on a crash of the Russian army? How do you see what are your different scenarios?
Yes, I think it's difficult to be sure. Definitely, when the war started, when we received information about the first incursion in 24th of February last year, I said that we are seeing a demise of Russian regime. Because my thinking came from the position that if Russia is allowed to win, to gain territories, to cripple Ukraine, it's not Ukrainian loss; it's also our loss. we would have lost, at least politically, not militarily. We are not involved militarily there. If Russia loses, then it will be a political loss for Mr. Putin and his supporters. I don't see it the way around. I don't see a lot of, possibility for gray zone. It will be either or, because we will have to name things as they are. And honestly, from where I stand, I don't see that the West could allow Ukraine to lose.
Mm-hmm. Your country plus the two other Baltic countries plus Poland have been right from the beginning. Do you have today the feeling that you are more listened in Brussels? And if yes, how concretely do you see this new influence you have within Europe?
Well, we definitely felt listened in Bratislava. And that was an really important message, very well heard and very well accepted. And I'm grateful to Mr. President that he chose this occasion to lay out his ideas. The question is whether we see that as a single point, a single opinion, or do we see it as a strategy? And we would like to see that as a strategy, definitely going further, seeing Europe after the war. Europe with Ukraine, with other members of other candidates who are currently at European door, or other candidates who are at NATO door. And again, trying now to figure out the architecture of European security that will need to be reformed, strengthened, and guaranteed, not just until next war, but for the future. So this debate is only just starting. And of course, we're waiting for Ukrainian victory, for it to pick up pace. But already we need to think about this. And I'm coming from Lithuania, Baltic state, definitely very much interested in this discussion, seeing what is happening in Belarus, where we have 700 kilometers of border with, seeing possibility of tactical nuclear weapons being deployed in Belarus. Definitely it drives up the anxiety of the future, and we need to have an answer for that.
My last question would be, do you fear today a Russian aggression against your country?
I think that, as you would compare a person to a country, right? There's a psychological line to aggression. That people, as do countries, refrain from aggression. But then when you cross it, you become something different. You are, a country that actually has crossed a psychological line, attacking your neighbor, finding a justification for that, being able to find a explanation to your people why it is okay to attack, to kill, to kidnap children, to destroy, civilian infrastructure like the dam in Dnipro River, which is a tragedy, and you have a justification for that. So when you think about that, person or country, they would have the same justification doing that same thing all over again. And this is why it makes us uneasy. That Russia, our neighbor, has crossed that line, and yes, I think that it can do that again.